Good afternoon and welcome to the Way to Wow show. I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and we are here every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. That's 3:30 p.m. on the East Coast. And we talk about all things related to careers, professions, business, and also personal finances, wealth building. So the idea is for those of you who can see the graphic back here, within the three pillars of attainment, to focus on the pursuits pillar and the, it's opposite doing this, the finances realm, and to build this part of our life, recognizing that it's one part of our overall life, including ourself, our relationships, and our pursuits. So today, I'm going to be talking about how to be actually finding the kind of career that you want. And there's a section in my book on this topic that I'm going to address. And so let's just jump right into that. Go ahead and share my screen. So, okay. So here's the thing, and this is something I hope you'll take to heart here. Let me increase the size of this so it can be seen more easily. Oops. Okay, there we go. So maybe just one more, and that way I have made it disappear. Okay, so I want to put the perspective into your job search. So we've talked before on the show about how strong the job market is right now, and it remains so by a lot of indicators. However, because of the way job hunting is done these days, there's a lot of competition for the best jobs. So especially if you're looking for something that's high paying, almost for sure you're not going to be the only potential candidate. There is a way to short circuit that, and that's what I'm going to talk about. But if you're counting on finding a great job through online job boards and that sort of thing, honestly, you're really stacking the odds against you. So just want to make a bit of a metaphor here. So talking about, I'm not a gambler, okay? I appraised too many casinos, saw too much of what goes on behind the scenes to, get into gambling, okay? So, but the reality is that gambling built Las Vegas. Without it, it would just be a little sleepy village in the middle of the desert. So people, they have their games that they like, but the one that you seem to see most often as sort of the epitome of gambling is roulette. So in a standard roulette wheel, you have 36 numbers, and in America, you also have 0 and 00. Now in Europe, by the way, you only have 0. You don't have 00. So that actually, in America, the odds that you'll lose are higher because there's both a 0 and a 00. So the odds that the little white ball will land on any particular number on the roulette wheel are 2.63%. In other words, it's very small. Okay, now if you're betting red versus black, so the odds that you'll win are 47.37. Now you say to yourself, well, wait a minute, it's got to be on either red or black. So it's got to be 50-50. No, because it can fall on 0 or 00. Those are neither red or black, and everybody loses. This is why, in the end, over the long term, casinos make money off of roulette, because there's numbers that the ball will fall on where everybody loses no matter what. So to a certain extent, this is what the internet has done to job hunting. So now that people can go online and apply for jobs with, in many cases, with just a couple of clicks, right? So there's very little person-to-person contact, if any, in that process. And here's what I want you to look like. Resumes are submitted through websites with 1 out of 118 to 250 people being chosen. Your odds of landing the job are less than 1%. Okay. So, look at this. For most people, job hunting means going online and posting. Only 4 to 10% of people who use this method exclusively get a job that way. So the reality is, the odds that you're going to get a job purely by working the online job hunting is far less than 1%. Or another way of putting that is, you're more likely to get your, where is it? There it is. You're more likely to get your number coming up in roulette than you are in getting a job working purely online job boards and that sort of thing. Okay. So, and by the way, for those people who gamble professionally, I'm told, real gamblers will may play blackjack, they may play craps, or they may play poker, where there's at least some skill involved in winning. Okay. And those are the favored games. Like the worst odds are roulette, but there's no skill in roulette. It's pure chance. Okay. In a way, when you're job hunting only online, you're essentially job hunting by pure chance. That's the bottom line. It's just not the way to go. So what do you do? Well, the reality is, if you want to job hunt successfully, you have to self-market. And this is difficult for a lot of people. It's difficult for me, to be honest. And I do this stuff for a living. So I was talking to a friend of mine who got laid off, about 3-4 months ago now. And he was talking about how the company that laid him off referred him to a resume writing company to write his resume. And he was reluctant to use it, but they kept saying, oh, you got to do this, you got to do this. And so finally he did. And he said, he got the resume back. And he said, there's a big difference between marketing yourself and in essence, flat out lying, which is what they did on his resume, he felt. Right. So we don't want to lie. The problem with that, right, is you're creating a false image of who you are. And when you actually get to do the job, you're setting yourself up for failure. So what we want to do is honestly self-market ourselves. And that starts with doing a candid assessment of what your knowledge, skills, and experience will qualify you to do. Okay, now I want to stress the difference between stretching yourself and misleading employers. It's perfectly valid to stretch yourself. So if you've never been a VP of marketing, but you've done marketing all your life, well, or not all your life, but all your professional career, and you sincerely believe that you can successfully fill a VP of marketing role, so there's no reason to not go after that position. Merely because you haven't done it before doesn't mean you cannot do it. It's perfectly legitimate to say, I feel I'm completely qualified for this role, and here's why. One of the reasons not being that you've done it before. Okay, so, and some employers will like that. Okay, provided you get the opportunity to actually talk to them. So rather than spamming job boards and that sort of thing, there are much more productive things for you to do. And so what I'm going to talk about are the things you can do to create a proactive job hunting mode. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 tasks that you can work on to give you a proactive job hunting process. Okay. First of all, optimize your LinkedIn profile. Okay. Now that sounds maybe sounds silly. Why, I need to do a resume, blah, blah, blah. No. I mean, resumes just really aren't that important these days. Most employers, when they're considering you for a role, the first thing they're going to do is look at your LinkedIn resume. Okay. And the reason that's the case will become evident in a little while. But even if you're applying for a job online through a job board or even through the company's website, okay, one of the first steps that a live person is going to do in evaluating whether to call you in for a meeting is to look at your LinkedIn profile. Okay. I was actually listening to a recruiter last night talking about her recruiting process, and she uses LinkedIn every day. Yeah. 5 days a week, right? Every working day. And one of the things, she was talking about, what does she look for? Well, number one, she said, if a profile doesn't have a picture, not even going to bother with that person. If they can't even bother to put a picture on their profile, not going to bother. Okay. Number two, if the person doesn't look pleasant, if they're not smiling, if they're not nicely dressed, done. Not going to even bother with them. That's the minimum standards from her standpoint to, potentially even getting in the door. Okay. And by the way, if for those of you who are familiar with LinkedIn, they have this thing you can think, this little, it goes around your picture. It says open to work, right? Interestingly enough, she doesn't necessarily look for that. Okay. I mean, if it's there, fine. But just because it doesn't say open to work doesn't mean she won't look at your profile. She will. Oftentimes, if the person is smiling and they have a good presentation in terms of how they're dressed, and they've met her search criteria. She works primarily with nurses and military veterans. So if they meet those criteria, nicely dressed, pleasant, look on their face, smiling, whatever, and they're a nurse or a veteran, she's going to click through their profile, even if it doesn't say open to work, because she's going to look at what they're doing, what their current job is, what their background is, what maybe some kind of statement about what their aspirations are, their professional aspirations are. And if it sounds like the person is a good fit for her organization, she's going to reach out to the person proactively. Okay. And that's what you want. That's what you want to do. Again, I don't know how much you track your LinkedIn profile, but I find that it reports periodically how many people are checking out my profile, right? And if I wanted to pay for premium, I could actually find out who they are. But in any given week, I may have between 10 and 35 or 40 people checking out my profile proactively. Okay. So you want to optimize your LinkedIn profile. It's not just an online resume in that sense. It's really an opportunity to present the story of who you are from a professional perspective. What is your background? What is your experience? What is your knowledge? All of those things are there. What are your skills? Okay, and you'll see. We'll talk about some other things in a minute, but in essence, you want to tell a story on your LinkedIn profile. Okay, starting out with your headline, okay, and then going into the summary, okay, and then on down from there. Okay, so think of it that way. And by the way, for those of you who want it, I'm happy to send you a link so you can download a PDF copy of my book, which is what we're looking at right now. And you can see here, it says, use the information on resume writing in chapters 28 through 30 to craft an outstanding profile. So there's all kinds of individual things that you want to do. I'm happy to share that with you. Okay, so provide evidence of your qualifications. So I say here, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, video's worth 1,000,000, right? If you've got a short video that somehow shows what your abilities are, post it. Okay. If you're a writer, okay, you need to post some of your writing. If you're doing anything in marketing at all, you need to post some kind of video. Okay. If you're doing anything in media at all, if you're doing anything in sports at all, you've got to post it. Now, if you're not in a profession that seems to naturally lend itself to video, figure it out. If you're in some kind of healthcare, show a video of you, pretending at least to give an injection to a patient, right? Make it up. What you're showing is how you interact with people. How creative is that? Okay. If you're in retail sales, okay, do a short video of how you interact with a potential customer, showing them, the goods that you're selling. Maybe you sell women's wear. So, go in a store. Look, believe me, in this regard, you're better off to ask forgiveness than permission. Go into a store with a friend. With two friends you're actually going to need, because you're going to need one to take the video with your phone, the other friend to pretend to be the customer, and you to be the salesperson, right? And just do a 1-minute video of you showing them and how you interact, how personable you are. Wow, think about the impact that's going to have. So get creative and then post it on your LinkedIn profile. Do more than one, showing off more than one of your skills, okay? Next, get endorsements. Okay, so if you've been in the military, for example, you're going to have what are called OERs or evals or fit reps or whatever. In those documents, you actually have endorsements, and you can take an excerpt out of them and put that on your LinkedIn profile with respect to your time in the military. Okay. By the way, the other thing you have to be careful about if you're in the military is make sure you're using civilian language, not military terminology. Okay, if you were a chief petty officer, that sounds cool, but you're going to also have to translate as to what that means in terms of a civilian equivalent, because otherwise people won't know. If you were a staff sergeant, if you were a lieutenant. Okay, people know they know these words, but they don't really know how much responsibility goes with them. Where are they in the sort of hierarchy, that sort of thing. Now, you may have worked for a civilian company that does written performance reports. So great. So take some excerpts out of those and put them on your LinkedIn profile. Okay, reach out to people that who will endorse you for skills or will write an endorsement for you. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with doing that. Don't pay them for it, right? You want to act with integrity. But if you reach out to a friend who knows your professional abilities and say, hey, would you post an endorsement on my LinkedIn profile? Sure. Yes. Okay, great. Right. Or maybe make a deal. I'll post one for you. You post one for me. Okay. Now they may say, I don't know what to say about you. So ghostwrite it and say, look, here's the gist of what I want you to say. Turn this into your own language. Just edit it into your own language and post it. Thank you very much. Okay. Now my friend Matthew Fritz has a book called Leveraging Your LinkedIn Profile for Success. I do recommend that book. It's a short book, not very expensive. You can get it on Amazon. I'll do my best to remember to put a link to it in the show notes. But it's a nice little book and has lots of great suggestions. Okay, so number one, optimize your LinkedIn profile, or I guess step A, optimize your LinkedIn profile. Okay, next, focus on LinkedIn. Okay. and this is kind of an older statistic, I don't think it's changed much. 94% of recruiters were active on LinkedIn, but only 36% of job seekers were. Okay. On Facebook, 65% of recruiters are active, but 83% of job seekers are. So where do you have the better odds? Clearly on LinkedIn. Okay. So really focus on LinkedIn. It is far and away the job hunting and professional hub of all the social media sites. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Only roughly 20% of jobs get advertised. Okay. And the jobs that are getting advertised are the ones that employers are having the most difficulty filling. Now, there's probably a reason they're having difficulty filling it. And some of those reasons may be it's not an interesting job. You've got to live in some place that a lot of people don't want to live in. It has, very long hours or very difficult working conditions, or it may be just a real boring job, and so they hire people, and then after a short time they leave. Or it may be that the supervisor of that job, the person that the person would report to, that the job holder would report to, is terrible to work with. Okay, and that's why that job is posted. Okay, so the job that you want is among the other 80%, the ones that don't get advertised. Okay, so the reality is you're not going to find that job on a job board. You're going to find it through some kind of internal contact, either you reaching out or someone reaching out to you. That's why I mentioned this recruiter that I was listening to last night. She's reaching out to people that she thinks are good candidates for success for her business. Okay. And she's not advertising anywhere. I guarantee you she's not. Okay. It's not a method of attracting people that has any value for her and her organization, because she's looking for individuals with very specific abilities, one of which is their people skills, their so-called soft skills. Okay. And she wants to interact with people to determine how well they do in that arena before she goes any farther. And so for her to advertise, she's just going to get a lot of people that she's going to have to screen, and it doesn't make sense for her to use her time that way. Okay, so that's why she reaches out. Likewise, you want to reach out to the companies and the people that you're interested in working for. Okay, and I have a video. If you go on my YouTube channel, you'll see a video titled under the relationships category, how to create relationships using LinkedIn. So since I've already explained how to do that in a previous show, I'm not going to get into that here because I don't want to take the time to do it. But suffice it to say, LinkedIn is the ideal place for initiating professional relationships and then building them. And that is really your goal when you're job hunting. It's to build relationships with people who are in an industry that you want to be a part of, or doing the kind of work that you want to do, so that they get to know you, they get to know who you are, what your abilities are, what your knowledge is. And so then when one of those 80% of jobs that isn't advertised comes up, you're foremost in their minds. Okay, so what does that really say? If you don't have a job, you've really got your work cut out for you, because you probably need to get employment as soon as possible, and it takes time to create these relationships. So you are in a much better place to job hunt while you're still employed. I cannot stress this highly enough. Okay, whether you're in the military and transitioning out, whether you're in, well, you're probably out of college now, at least for the summer, but maybe you're in summer school, while you're in college, before you hit senior graduation, start your job hunt. Okay, it can easily take 12 to 18 months to find the job that you really want. So give yourself that lead time. I mean, if you're in a job that you just cannot stand, still, in general, and this is a general piece of advice, don't quit that job. You will be much better off job hunting while you have a job. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to make it a process of connecting with people, in finding internal contacts within organizations, and working those, developing those relationships, so that now you're a part of, I know this word gets overused sometimes, you're part of the ecosystem of that industry. Okay, and you're a prime candidate for the company to reach out to, or to hear about a great opening that's come up, and snag it before somebody else does. Okay, so that's B. C. Okay, uncover hidden gems. Okay, what you're looking for are the genuine leaders in your field. Okay, now let me give you an example, right? If I say electric cars or electric vehicles, who's the first person who pops into your head? Was it Elon Musk, right? Tesla? Probably. Okay, he is a genuine leader in the field. What do you think the chances are of your being able to create a relationship with Elon Musk that would lead to your getting a job in the electric vehicle field? Would you agree with me? It's probably pretty slim, right? He's a very busy guy. He's got a lot of things that he's involved with, and to really catch his eye is going to be very, very difficult. So although he's a genuine leader in the field, he's way too well known. So when I say find genuine leaders in the field, what I mean are people who are leading the progress in the field. Okay. And while Elon Musk is an engineer and he understands, I assume, the engineering of electric vehicles, at this point, I'm guessing he's not really the one who's driving the progress from a science and engineering standpoint. He's got tons of people at Tesla who are doing that for him. Now, he may meet with them and hear ideas and give them input on their ideas or whatever because of his background, but he's not the one who's really, driving the progress in that sense, the hands-on progress. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to find those people, because they're the ones that are doing what you want to do. Again, if you're in the electric vehicle field. Now, by the way, maybe you want to be in EVs, but you don't want to be doing engineering. Maybe you want to be on the business side. Well, again, although, Elon Musk changed in many ways the model of how cars are sold, okay, he's not really driving that innovation anymore. What he's doing is he's working with the people in his organization who handle that, encouraging them to drive the innovation. And those are the people you want to meet if you're interested more in the marketing and sales of EVs. Okay, so can you see a distinction here? And by the way, if you got a chance to go to some conference where Elon Musk was speaking, right, especially if he's going to be doing a small breakout group, by all means go if you can get in, right, and then sit right in front of where he is and be sure to ask a couple of great questions, and then at the end of the meeting, go up and introduce yourself and shake his hand and make that connection. I mean, it's certainly not going to hurt. But just don't count on, being able to call up, Elon Musk the next day and say, hey, Lon, it was great seeing you at the conference. What have you got open in your companies? I'm looking for a job. You'd be extremely fortunate if he passed your name on to somebody in the company and said, hey, I met this guy yesterday, call him up. He's looking for a job. Probably not going to happen. Okay. So what you want to do is look for the people who are really, doing the work, so to speak. Okay. Because they're also going to be the ones who are more likely to be the hiring managers. Okay. This is not the HR people. Okay. Generally speaking, the HR people aren't the hiring managers per se, because they don't really know the specifics of what a particular department in a company needs. Okay. So the hiring manager is going to be someone who is involved in the department most likely. Okay. And so that's who you're more likely to meet when you're finding the genuine leaders. Okay. And by the way, just because someone is doing a lot of self-promotion, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a genuine leader. So you need to look, it's so common. We have, influencers, right? Well, I don't know about you, but I get influencer fatigue in the sense that, what does it take to be an influencer these days? Frankly, not a lot. If you're good with social media, I think you can become an influencer, almost literally overnight. That's not who you're looking for. You're looking for people with a track record of success doing what it is that you want to do. Okay. So forget the self-promoters, forget the so-called influencers, find the genuine leaders who are really involved in the industry or in the business that you want to be involved with, who are at a level where they are looking for people, and or they are talking to the people in the company who are looking for people, and create those relationships there. Okay. Next, use your network. Okay. Excuse me. I mentioned this above. 80% of the 80% of jobs are not advertised. So how do you find them? You find them by using your network. Okay. Now there's lots of ways to engage with your network. You can go to meetings, you can send emails, you can involve yourself with them on social media. But the best single way to engage with your network is to call them up. Okay. So my friend Bill says you should call up the people in your network once a quarter. You call them up. If they don't pick up the phone, don't bother leaving a message the first time you call. Call again, maybe the next day. If they pick up the phone, great. If they don't, still don't leave a message. And then if you call a third time and they don't pick up the phone, leave a message. Hey, it's Kevin. Was just calling to say hello and catch up. When you have a minute, please give me a call back. Here's my number. Look forward to talking. Okay. That's what you want to do. More will happen in a 10-minute phone call or a 15-minute phone call than all of the social media posting that you can do in terms of building that relationship. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I'll be the first one to admit I'm impacted by this. I feel like I don't want to call people. I don't want to bother them. They're busy. They don't have time to talk to me. That's whenever I start doing my calls, that's like what's going in the back of my mind. It's not true, and I know it's not true because I'll pick up the phone and I'll call somebody and they're like, "Oh, hey, great, gosh, so good to hear. Thanks for calling," and they're flattered that someone would take the time to pick up the phone to say hello and see how they're doing, right? And I think this has gotten even more so post-COVID, when so much people feel so separated from other people. A lot of people still aren't back in their offices. They don't have a lot of direct contact with their coworkers. And at least with a phone call, it's voice to voice, or for that matter, a Zoom meeting. Although it's hard to sort of jump on a Zoom meeting with someone, if it's not pre-planned. That's why I recommend using the telephone. Okay, so that's the best way to network. And the main reason for being in touch with people in your network is to find out how you can help them. The call is not about how they can help you. It's about how you can help them. Okay. And if the person is worth being in your network, the more you try and help them, the more they're going to try and help you. That's what a relationship is, right? It's a mutual helping of each other. Okay. So if you find yourself making calls to someone and you're constantly helping them and you get nothing in return, okay, so then that may not be a relationship worth pursuing. Now you may say, gosh, that's pretty harsh. Well, okay, maybe it is, but it's also practical. Okay, we're looking for real relationships, and real relationships are based on mutual benefit. Okay, did you ever have the experience when you were dating where you were the one who always had to initiate the date? You were always the one who had to pay for the date. You were always the one who had to drive the conversation, and in the back of your mind, you kept wondering, why is this person going out with me? I don't understand it, right? And the answer is, I mean, there's lots of answers, but the reality is you're not in a relationship with that person. It's like you're sort of a babysitter or something. I don't know. I mean, there were times when I would be out on a date with a woman and be like, and she just clearly didn't seem to be into it. And and at one point I would say, everything okay? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Because, but asking you questions and you haven't really been responding, or I get sort of, 1-2 word answers or something like that. So, and look, we're not going to have a relationship with everybody. We're just not. And it's no criticism of us that some other person doesn't want to have a relationship with us, especially a business relationship. Okay. Some people aren't good at it. Some people they're just kind of filled up with relationships at that point, and they're just not open to connecting with other people. Okay. And some people, they just don't see it. They just don't see it. Okay. Well, all right, fine. So then move on. There's so many people out there who want to be genuinely giving, who want to create mutually beneficial relationships. So look for those people. Look for those people. Okay. Just today, I had a meeting with someone I met a few weeks ago, and we hit it off from the first. And in the meeting we had today, he's actually going to be a future guest on this show. One of the things that struck me is he was as intent with helping me as I was with helping him. I wanted people to see who he was because he's such an interesting person. He's had such great success, and I don't mean he's fabulously wealthy, because maybe he is. I don't think so, but that's not what's important to him. As you'll see when you watch the show, he built success on his own terms, and that's so laudable. I think that's so laudable and such a great example for all of us. And I wanted people to be able to see that. And when he kept saying after the meeting, he's like, well, I said, well, I'll send you a copy of the video. He says, no. He says, just send me a link, because that way I can send people to watch it on your channel, right? We're both trying to help each other out. And that's a real relationship, or the beginnings, at least, of a real relationship. That's what we want to build. Those are the kind of people we want to meet. These are the kind of people, they're going to make our life better, not just our professional life better, our entire life better. And those are the people I seek out in professional relationships. Okay. In fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday. Here's another example. This is someone I've been working with for over a year now. And we were joking around a little bit. He says, I was talking to somebody. I was explaining to them that we've been working together for over a year. And I said, do you want to guess how much I paid Kevin? And the person said, I don't know how much. And he said, 0. And the fact of the matter is, we haven't made any money together, at least not yet. So, but here's the thing. So I said to him, I said, I am going to take issue with what you said. And while it's true, I haven't received any financial compensation in our working together, I've been compensated by the trust you've placed in me, by the respect that you've given me, by the opportunity you've given me to influence what you're doing and have an impact on its direction, by the friendship that you've given me, by the times that when frankly I felt down and I knew I could call you up and kind of share what was going on with me for a few minutes and have you help me get back on track. To me, that's platinum, that's titanium, right? So there's lots of ways that relationships can be mutually beneficial. And I'm not just talking about a financial exchange. Okay. I keep saying this over and over, real relationships. That's what we're looking to build. Okay. I'm going to run out of time here. So finally, get out from behind your desk, especially post-COVID. Okay. I mean, I wrote my book pre-COVID, but this is more true today, I think, than it's ever been before. Get out from behind your desk. Email and phone are great communication tools, but they will never replace in-person interaction. Meeting someone for coffee, meeting someone for a drink, meeting someone at a conference, being at a particular company. Maybe the company gives tours and you have an opportunity to to walk through their facility or something like that. They're just priceless. I was reading an article in the last couple of days, almost for sure in the Wall Street Journal, right? That's the paper I read. And it was talking about the difficulties that employers are having getting their people to come back to the office, right? Office occupancy is still at, on average across the country, 50% of what it was pre-COVID. And in certain cities like, I think San Francisco, it's at a third of what it was before COVID. And look, I get it. It's much more convenient to work at home, and I don't have to get dressed up. I can work in my pajamas or whatever it is. I can have my dog with me, or whatever it is. I don't have to commute. All valid points. It's not the same as being with your colleagues face to face, and more employers are recognizing that. So I have a friend who's a partner in one of the big accounting firms. And much earlier than a lot of other firms, they started bringing their people back because what they saw was the informal interactions between partners and associates was not taking place. And so the associates were not getting the mentorship, the educational opportunities that they needed in order for their careers to flourish and for them to have partner potential. And not necessarily even in that firm, but just professional growth kind of writ large, as they say. There's no substitute for face-to-face interaction. So look for those opportunities. Okay. I mentioned here professional associations. So if you're interested in a particular field, especially if you're new to it, if you're a recent college graduate, if you're a mid-career professional who's thinking of making a change in what you're doing, one of the best things you can do is find a professional association that has a group that meets near where you live, so you can do in-person, face-to-face meetings and start to get to know people on that basis. Okay. Now, second best is Zoom. I mean, or those kind of things. I guess Google Meets. They're better than the email and phone because you can see people at least, but they're still not as good as actual face-to-face. Okay. So, we call it a second option, or a secondary option, I guess is the best way to put it. Okay. But get out there and get out there with other people. Some of the best, at least most interesting business professional connections I made weren't in any kind of business or professional context, I once got I've told this story before, but I once got an opportunity to work on a project up in San Francisco from a guy that I met walking to the gym in downtown Los Angeles, who, would probably best be described as a homeless guy. Now, part of that's me. I will pretty much talk to anybody. And I'm walking to the gym, and this guy comes up and he's like, "Hi, how are you?" I'm like, "Fine, how are you?" "What do you do?" "Oh, I'm an architecture student." "Oh, really? Well, why don't architects do projects like this?" It was just, and he started like rambling off all this stuff, right? And one of them turned out to be an actual thing, and I called up it was actually the pastor of a church, and we ended up being able to help them. Me being a very good friend of mine in college by the name of Malcolm Brown, and we did some work for him. So, and I've had other business and professional opportunities come in, just sort of, I'm at a party and somebody mentions something, and it kind of, piques an idea in my head, or we make a connection. So get out there, get social, not social media. Get out there and be social. Talk to people. I've talked to people in the grocery store. I mean, just the other day, I don't know why I kept finding myself blocking people, and there was this one particular guy. I think I was blocking his way in the aisle 3 times. I kept thinking, "Pardon me, let me move over." And I finally turned to him. I said, "I don't know what to tell you. It's just that it seems to be my purpose in life is to, block other people's paths." And he started laughing. He said, "We're living the same life. We chatted for a couple of minutes, and hey, it's nice talking to you," kind of thing. But I've had situations like that actually turn into where the person said, "Hey, what do you do?" That kind of thing. You never know where it's going to come from. So just be open to those opportunities. Be open to talking to other people. Don't shy from saying something nice to someone in the grocery store, or if you're waiting in line at the coffee shop or whatever. Make an observation. "Oh, hey, gosh, what a nice looking suit." Or I think guys, you have to be a little bit careful about this, guys to ladies, because they don't, you don't want to act like you're hitting on them or anything. But whatever. I hope you don't mind. This is when I make a compliment to a woman, I preface it by saying, I hope you don't mind my saying this, but I happen to notice your dress, and it's just so beautiful. It really stands out because of the material. It's so rich, or the color pattern. It's like whatever metaphor I'm going to use, right? And generally, I've found that people they respond positively to that. Who doesn't want to hear something nice like that and have a friendly gesture made to them? Okay, just look, you don't want to be creepy, like, "Oh, I like how you're dressed." So you don't want to do that, but just be genuine, be yourself, just be friendly. Look, you do that 100 times, who knows what's going to come from it, right? As you're walking down the street, say good morning to people, or good afternoon, or whatever. Right? "Hi, hey, how you doing?" Whatever. You just never know. But get out there, get out from behind your desk, get out of your house, get out of your whatever, and interact with people, and just be yourself, be a nice person, a normal person, if you will, and take the opportunity to do that. Okay, so and I want to wrap up by saying, and I put this here, right here. Okay, so the success of your job search, and I would argue the success of your life, is really going to come down to how many people you meet and speak with each day. Okay, and I think it's a good idea to set a goal. So while you may not be able to do a lot of it in the beginning, it makes you nervous, you get anxious. So even if you just set a goal of 2 people a day, don't make it 1. Okay, don't make it 1. Make it at least 2 people a day that you're going to reach out to. And when I say reach out to, even if it's just I'm going to say something friendly to 1 person in the grocery store today, and I'm going to reach out to 1 person on LinkedIn today. Good. And get in the habit of doing that. Once you get in the habit of doing 2, then make it 3. and then raise it to 4. Okay. And you know, make it a goal to get to 10 people a day. Okay. The more you can do this, the more chances you'll find people that you want to have relationships with and want to have relationships with you. And the faster you will be able to achieve your professional goals. So that is what I have for today. So I hope you find that useful. And you'll notice, by the way, that this was all basically focused here in the relationships aspect of the 3 pillars of attainment, even though it relates to finances. Sorry, finances up here. I think I was pointing it over here. Anyway, it relates to finances. So here's the thing. All of the realms and pillars overlap to a certain degree. And that's kind of a theme, not kind of, that is a theme of the show, and helping you recognize how the various parts of your life overlap, interact, interrelate, to be able to move your whole life forward. Okay. So these same kind of relationships development skills will work in interpersonal relationships, just like they do in professional ones. So I encourage you to get out there. Now, if you're an introvert like me, I know you're like, this guy's an introvert. Believe me, I'm an introvert. It takes a lot of energy for me to do these things. That's what introvert is, not shy. Okay. Those are different things. Introverted versus extroverted deals more with whether being around other people and interacting with other people energizes us or makes us tired. I can assure you it makes me tired. Now, it's a good tired, because I feel like I've done something beneficial by interacting with other people, but it still makes me tired. And after doing that, I have to take some downtime to recharge. Whereas extroverted people, they can be interacting with people all day long, and it keeps getting them more charged up and more charged up. Okay. So even if you're an introvert, and especially if you're shy, you can overcome your shyness. You absolutely can. I used to be introverted and shy. Okay. And I had to work myself out of my shyness. It frankly took a lot of years. When I was a boy, I was painfully shy. Okay. And then I'll tell you, probably the turning point was when I was a teenager. I think I want to say a junior in high school. The summer after I was a junior in high school, I believe it was. And I was living with my mom here in LA, and I went to go take tennis lessons, and I was sitting on a bench waiting for the lesson to start, and this absolutely knockout young woman came and kind of sat on the other side, on the other end of the bench. And I'm looking at her, and I'm glancing, trying not to be too obvious. And I was just smitten, absolutely smitten. And yet I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't talk to her. Oh my, I cannot do this. And finally, I got up the courage to just say hello. And what I did is I was like playing with my racket, and I ended up setting it down on the bench so it made a noise, and she turned to look at me, and I said, "Oh, I didn't mean to disturb you." And she said, "Oh no, it's okay, it's okay." And I said, I said, "How are you today?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm doing fine." I said, "Are you here to?" And I just started a conversation. I struck up a conversation with her about tennis, and turned out she didn't live in Los Angeles. She actually lived in Brooklyn, New York. And I will, nothing like summer love. This was my first, like, head over heels, oh my gosh, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself, girlfriend. And it was very powerful, because it showed what could happen if I was willing to overcome my shyness. Okay. Now I'd like to tell you that, we ended up getting married, but we did not. Okay. But still, it was an object lesson. Jocelyn, if you happen to be seeing this, yes, it's you I'm talking about. She lives in I think it's Connecticut now, all of that. So but these moments will be very powerful in your life, and they will help you grow a tremendous amount. They certainly did for me. And eventually I overcame my shyness, but to have that kind of really vivid demonstration of the power of moving beyond our limitations a little bit, and what kind of opportunity that opens up for us, you'll carry it your whole life. Okay, whether you have a long life to go like my daughter, or you know, a rather shorter life to go like, you know, me, the old guy, it doesn't matter. These are experiences we should seek out, and these are challenges that we should seek to meet and hopefully overcome. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have thoughts, please share them in you know, social media, or you can send me an email. All of the contact information will be in the show notes after this episode posts on our YouTube channel. And speaking of which, please do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. That way you'll always know when a new show posts. This is our last show for this week. We'll start next week at 10 a.m. Pacific time, Monday, with Trusts and Estates Weekly, where we talk about all things related to trusts and probate and estates, and whether it's an issue for you from a personal finance standpoint, or whether as a professional you're interested in working in this field. I encourage you to tune into that show. On Tuesday is at 11 a.m. Pacific time is my show, Business Lessons from the Military, and my guest is retired Navy Captain Mark Brooker. Mark and I have been friends for a number of years now. He is an outstanding teacher on leadership, and we're going to talk about how we can take leadership principles from the military and apply them to the civilian business world, the civilian, even the nonprofit world, academia, everywhere in the civilian world. Okay. And then next week is the next edition of People Making Money. And my guest will be Lori Israel. And she's going to be talking on the subject of marriage and money. Okay. Marriage and money. And that can be a very challenging thing to deal with. And Lori has been an expert in this field for a long, long time. Okay. She's a lovely woman. So I don't want to, you know, I don't know how she feels about, you know, her age. I have no idea what it is, but she's very experienced in this, and has, in particular, has a lot of experience in working with couples and dealing with this issue. Okay. She's a lawyer, but not a lawyer and like suing people and that kind of stuff. She's a lawyer that helps, you know, bring couples together, helps them resolve difficulties that they're having. So I encourage you to tune in next week and to all of the shows. And that just leaves me to do two things. One is to wish you a wonderful rest of the day and the rest of the week. Hope you enjoy yourselves, maybe spend some time with family. And signing off, just want to say, Marie, as ever, darling, you are my belle. So thank you all very much, and look forward to seeing you next week.